Obviously that member has been very busy over the break practising his elocution, speeches and presentation. And for a while I thought I was watching the House of Representatives there for a while. But anyway, just one point. I'd point the member to the SOP, which is coming in the next committee stage of the other tax bill Thursday. I think it's coming. And also point him towards Budget 2010, which talks about LAQCs, QCs, and the need to claim credits at the same rate they were built up in the first place. And that's what the SOP is all about. Well, it's quite major because actually the thrust of those arguments actually have been already pointed out before this House, voted for that in Budget 2010, and in fact in the SOPs on Thursday that member will see that, I'm sure, and probably I'm sure he'll be voting for that given the speech he just made. Mr Speaker, this is a continuation of a move toward a world-class tax system, to move arbitrage, to remove any problems, any differentials between the various tax rates where possible, and try and align rules and regulations. And the member did talk about avoidance. If you just look at the statistics, if members just look at the statistics, if you look from 2000 to 2002 as a consequence of moving the tax rates from 33 to 38, the highest marginal tax rate, versus the corporate, versus the trust, actually an absolute explosion in LAQCs, or the use of at least, an absolute explosion in various structures, even when the pies came out. But Mr Speaker, just very quickly, only the Labour Party would want the community, the Middle New Zealand, as the previous member was speaking to, only they would want New Zealand to spend $70 million to retrieve $1.5 million of tax revenue. That is just such backward economics. The Labour Party essentially, given that speech, Mr Speaker, want New Zealand to spend $70 million on accountants, $70 million on lawyers to retrieve $1.5 million in tax revenue, Mr Speaker. While that is total voodoo economics, it's, there's less polite ways of describing it, but maybe a bit of education is required there, Mr Speaker, because this is absolutely nonsense. Because now we know the Labour Party will be on a platform of introducing the capital gains tax, hiking the top tax rates. They will be bringing back gift duty by the sounds of things. And given the speech the other day from Mr Goff and Mr Cunliffe the other day before that, or Mr Cagle, I think they're all over the show, Mr Speaker, because at the end of the day, you can promise all you like, the economy we inherited, the tax problems we inherited, Mr Speaker, were declining revenue, increasing expenditure, and we're just hearing a continuation of that on the other side. Mr Speaker, just very quickly, there's some... Obviously that will be the debating point on this particular bill, but the other point's about sharing information across agencies. Mr Speaker, many electorate MPs get people coming through the door, and often it's a communication issue between various government departments. WINS hasn't spoken to IRD, hasn't spoken to ACC, and they all throw their hands up. In fact, it's not actually often legal for them to share information, but actually for the benefit of whoever that person is and for the use of for the taxpayer and the taxpayer's balance sheet, actually a more lateral sharing of information within the tight parameters that the Minister outlined earlier is actually a welcome move towards that world-class tax system, Mr Speaker. I'm sure if this bill does go through first reading, I'm sure it will. When it does, I'm sure FEC will welcome it, work hard on it. I look forward to seeing this bill at FEC, Mr Speaker. Thank you.